Episode 348. We're still figuring it out. If you haven't noticed, we didn't run the live message sorting session, but here's Daniel and I. Anyway, top of the show, the three things that I think you should take notice of and then make the decision to watch the rest of the episode are... we've got Copilot Readiness. There is a section now within Microsoft 365 to tell you and suggest candidates that should use Copilot and be assigned a Copilot license. Interesting. We have the new groups experience in Outlook is settling in and becoming generally available and becoming the default. We'll talk more about that. And lastly, maybe this doesn't apply directly to you as an organization. Maybe you're not using Frontline Worker, but we thought this was interesting around dynamic group membership and how that's being deployed. This is episode 348. Well, it's going to be 348. We're here.
Right now it's 348.
Yeah, now, well, yes.
Well, was it last episode we kind of mixed up the numbers too at some point? I don't remember. This one definitely is 348.
It is.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, we didn't do the live sorting show. Sorry. It's my fault. Blame this guy. I was in Minneapolis for the M365 Community Day in Twin Cities, and had a great time with a few hundred folk at that event, and it was a great time. So sorry about that, everybody. That I know we've got quite a few people who join us on those regularly. At least there's several that regularly join those live shows. So we'll do that again this week, I think. Unless Daryl's like, no, we won't. But I
mean, as long as Microsoft gives us something to talk about, which I'm sure they will in some shape or form. But this episode, we have marked everything as quick mentions. And we'll do our best to keep it quick.
Yeah, indeed. So we probably won't have time to say this later on, so we'll say it now. Thank you for everyone who jumps in the comments and leaves comments on the video, who hits us up on the socials at 365MCS on all of those socials that matter. We greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much, and continue to do so. Please. Will you keep doing that? We'd like to interact with you. I did give away quite a few stickers this last event, and I know that people are very interested in the show. But you know what would help is if you shared this episode out. Share a link out to all your family and friends and their pets. That would be greatly appreciated. So,
do you think Google and YouTube go, hey, this isn't a real person; it's a pet on an iPad choosing to watch our
No,
video?
I don't think so. I think we can go ahead and set your pets up on iPads so they can watch the show.
But I have a problem with that, Daniel, because I think they'd be pausing the video a lot. So, our first message. OneDrive for colored. I should get the message open for starters. That would always help. Microsoft OneDrive for Business colored folders in OneDrive folder in Microsoft Windows File Explorer. Do I have to say that again? Because that was just, and I don't even feel like it's because of the way I'm saying it, but what I'm trying to say. If you haven't noticed, and we've mentioned this a few times, people, the word Microsoft has been slipped into many different places in a message title now because marketing insists on letting us know that Microsoft Windows is Microsoft Windows. Anyway, if I was going to abbreviate this, it would be OneDrive, because we don't call it OneDrive for Business anymore. Colored folders in OneDrive, in the OneDrive folder, in Windows File Explorer.
I would actually say, Daryl, you could even shorten it more. We don't need to know that it's OneDrive we're talking about because we talk about it in what it is. So I would say colored folders in OneDrive.
Yeah.
Within Windows.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay.
Anyway.
MC878504. Go to Windows File Explorer and you'll be able to. You can currently set colored folders on your machine. Yep. But now you'll be able to go into OneDrive and do the same. And I'm assuming those folders will sync and they'll retain their colors, and you'll have local colors and cloud colors. Wonderful. Useful? Yeah, I think so. I think the visual cue can be helpful. I use colors and categories for email and appointments, and if you're going to be super organized, maybe you'll follow the same color theme. When you have a folder that has something to do with meetings, and anyway, I'm expanding on this to make it a bigger message. Daniel.
Well, I just think I use colored. I use different colors for folders in Outlook. Occasionally, I do as a way of just going, pay attention to this folder. Things like if I have a client folder or something, I might have contracts as a color, just so I know, hey, that's pretty important one or something. But the problem is, with folder colors, I think, is if people are using it as metadata, because I don't see us being able to get to that metadata, which is the color and the relationship between the color and whatever's in your head as to what that means.
Connecting that, yeah.
Yeah, and being able to use it in the future. Because, we know folder structure is metadata about what the information is in there. And if you're using colors as a way of doing metadata, great for you, but, when you leave the organization because you win the lottery, and your manager takes over your OneDrive, and then they see these folder colors, they have no idea what it means. And if you're using it for something really important in your business logic, and anyway, I would just caution you, use proper file management, and don't rely on color of the folder to determine things. Just like you were saying, just let it be maybe a little indicator or visual cue or something.
Yeah, an enhancement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they'd have to build some kind of taxonomy color relationship to make that fit through. Yeah. But this is generally available worldwide, GCC, GCI, DOD, rolling out mid-September next week, complete by early October. Daniel, tell us, if you were to look at my activity and the way that I work, do you think I would be suggested as someone who should benefit from Copilot? Would I be ready for this?
Okay, I'll answer that question after I read this. Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365. There's 2 Microsofts already. Updated readiness section of the usage report showing suggested candidates, MC878430. To answer your question, Daryl, it depends. If I really want the revenue for you using Copilot, I would say you absolutely should be using Copilot.
Yeah.
If I was your admin, knowing the way you work, I'd probably still say yes, because I think you could still use it effectively. But what your questioning actually points out a little bit of a flaw in this. Let's talk about what it is, and then I'll talk about maybe the flaw. Yeah. The suggested candidate for Copilot column is new in the M365 usage report. And what this is supposed to be is an indicator that this person, this user, would likely benefit from Copilot. Okay? So this is Microsoft saying, hey, here are the users that would maybe use Copilot and be beneficial to them. And that's, frankly, and we've talked many, many times on the show, that's very important. You do not want to be buying licenses for anything, and in this case Copilot, but for anything that your users are not actually going to use, right? So, great. You're going to give us an indicator. Fantastic. Now, how are they figuring that out? The devil's in the details. So, this is coming along. You read down in the paragraph of how this will affect you. The second sentence, I guess, says examples of relevant M365 app usage indicators can also be found in the same report, including flags indicating whether or not the user was active. Now, okay, active, what does that mean? We don't really know, but does that mean they just opened it? Did they, and this in specific, the first one is Microsoft Teams meeting. So they scheduled a meeting or they just attended one.
Yes.
We don't know.
And yes.
Teams chats. So I'm assuming
Teams chats.
they used Teams chats to, maybe they received a Teams chat or they had to send it. We don't know. Microsoft Outlook emails and Microsoft Office documents over the prior 30 days. So I would actually suggest that if you have office workers, people, that's what this is about, right? You're people who are out on the manufacturing floor that don't use a computer at all, use office products anyway. They're manufacturing things. That's not what we're targeting with Copilot, right? We're targeting office workers, people who are using Office. So basically, if you're an office worker and you don't use Teams or Outlook or create Microsoft Office documents in 30 days, if you're not on vacation, then what are you doing? It feels like this is hey, if you're breathing and you get a paycheck, then you are someone who should be ready to use Copilot.
Well, you get that paycheck via email, so indicating you are an active user of email, so you should get
right.
Copilot.
If the only email you look at is your pay stub every month, then you should have Copilot. I'm being a little sarcastic here. I just feel like these indicators should be
more refined.
Should be more refined a little bit. This seems like more of let's catch everybody and put a check mark by their name as a suggested candidate for Copilot, rather than, and maybe this is a way of differentiating users, office users, and people on the factory floor, or truck drivers, or people stocking shelves.
But you'd know that already as an admin and as a manager.
I would think.
Yeah.
Rollout worldwide early September, so nowish, and expect to be completed by late September, so soonish.
Rollout worldwide.
Worldwide. All right, Daryl, I want to talk about removing something, because we were just talking about adding stuff to everybody. Let's talk about removing something.
Remove? More like move.
All right, we'll debate that.
All right, let's debate that. But anyway, the title, Exchange Online. Let me help you out there, message writer. Microsoft Exchange Online. New Microsoft groups, new groups experience default updates in Outlook on the web and new Outlook for Windows. MC882271. Daniel, I'm genuinely concerned that the length of these titles is going to impact our viewership. Blah, 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 blah. I'll come back in 2 minutes' time. All right, so what is this? Well, within Outlook, we have had Outlook groups for a little while. This was actually prior to Teams, that you could create a group which had a SharePoint site behind it, OneNote. It would be much like a shared mailbox, but also function a bit like a distribution group. You could go there and use it as the space for collaboration and find all those different ways of collaborating together. And for quite some time, we had our little switcheroo thing at the bottom of our folder panel, where we could go between contacts and calendar, and there was also an area to switch to this groups space. Well, with new Outlook, this is on the web, and also new Outlook for Windows, it is on what Microsoft in the documentation is calling the navigation bar on the left-hand side, where you see, and you can switch between calendar and inbox and various Office apps. You might have Copilot there if you're licensed. There's the people icon, and just below that is the new group icon. And that's going to be the default. So that's the change. Let's talk, Daniel. I think it's just moving groups to the side. It's not removing.
I would suggest, well, it's removing it because they've already added it. So it's in two places. I think the reason why, and everyone, I kind of put this on the list of, hey, we should talk about this for this one reason. I find that when people are using and getting to groups in Outlook, this is where they go. Is this in the navigation pane, which is the thing where all the folders are, listing in Outlook, that people go there to click on groups at the very bottom, and the new navigation bar access is not what people are using by default. And so now it is a user change. That's all I'm going to say. I feel like, in this way I do it, but I working with customers, that's the way most people are doing it. They're going down there because it says groups, and it's actually pretty well defined rather than just a logo that even I forget what in the world that is. And so I think you just need to make your users aware that this is going to be, it's being removed, is my opinion, from that
I think there's a good number of people who have many folders in their inbox that don't even see that group logo at the bottom of that folder panel because it's way down the bottom and they don't scroll down there.
Well, that's unfortunate for them that they have too many folders.
Yeah. You know what to do, people. Just leave it all in inbox.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why be organized?
And use search. But anyway, so that's becoming a default, where there's actually quite a lengthy message, really, for what it is. FAQs, does this add any additional functionality? No, it's there. It's a button, it's changed. When does this change? Generally available, will begin rolling out early October and expect to be complete end of November. And let's move into a sensitive topic, Daniel.
Okay.
Tell me about
I'm a sensitive guy, so I figured that I could take care of this one. Microsoft Teams set sensitivity labels for town halls and webinar MC 884018. This one, and this is coming soon for Microsoft Team Premium customers. So I think, and I read that and I'm like, wait, it's not plural. The first sentence there below the summary is Team Premium customers. I think it's supposed to be Teams Premium customers. Anyway, is the capability of, when setting up and having town halls and webinars, put a sensitivity label on it. Great. I mean, this seems like a open and shut case, Your Honor. But the two things that jumped out at me on this is there's not a mention anywhere about correlating the sensitivity label with Microsoft Purview, which is where we set up sensitivity labels for organization. So I'm assuming it's the same thing. Now, I say assuming in not a good way. I think that it would have been great to have clarity here. If that's the case, then because it's the way it should be. If that's the case, then man, it would have been really great to have just a sentence in here that says something like, set up your sensitivity labels in Microsoft Purview with your Purview administrator or something. I don't know. Something like that. So we're assuming it's the same. If it's not, and this is homegrown sensitivity labels of some sort, then we're in trouble. But I think that it is. Again, assuming is generally not a good thing in technology. Or in maybe anything in life, really. The second thing here is it is for Teams Premium users, and it's only for, we're talking here for town halls and webinars, which we haven't had before. So, which is separate from meetings. It's a different type of thing, right, than meetings are. So, I think the biggest thing for me is when we're talking security And when sensitivity labels is part of that, is part of trying to protect access to sensitive information. That's kind of the definition. I really don't like having to buy an extra license for that. And so requiring Teams Premium here seems a little bit of a reach for me, when I understand because it's town halls and webinars, it's a little different, right, than just meetings. But it doesn't make me happy that we have to, have a premium license to get this. Maybe I'm overblowing this a little bit, but it seems like this actually goes against the, not against, but it definitely doesn't fall in line with Satya's directive for Microsoft to security first. This seems more like, hey, we need to drive some revenue. Let's get people to sign up for Teams Premium. So that thing we're about to roll out for town halls, we'll throw that in there as you have to have. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little cynical. I don't know, Daryl. Correct me
yes, you are.
If you think I am. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, this is rolling out early October, completed by mid-October. General availability, that was targeted release. General availability worldwide. And GCC will be mid-October through late October 2024. If you have opinions about this message, don't forget, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom and click a thumbs up or thumbs down, and then provide feedback of, hey, maybe some more information about, is this the purview sensitivity labels? Is this, we don't think Teams Premium, whatever. Or maybe you love it, whatever. Put your opinion in there. Microsoft would love to hear about it. Daryl, you mentioned at the top of the show in the lead-in about some dynamic membership of sorts for frontline workers. What in the world is that?
It's exactly that, but it's interesting to see this coming to quite a narrow use case. Microsoft Teams Admin Center deploy frontline teams with flexible membership MC883199. We're talking about in just the previous message about needing to get additional licensing or another level of licensing for certain features. Okay. Well, one of those was needing, what was it? I think it's like Intra P1 or P2 for dynamic group membership. This is something that on-prem you could create a group, get people added to it automatically based on various different attributes in their user record. Could be that they are reporting to a certain manager, so therefore they're added to a group for managing or being managed by that person. This use case quite narrow, but very useful for frontline workers. Frontline workers often work in a certain location. And when we talk about location, it's not necessarily city or town or whatever else, but it could also be an area of the factory floor or a certain division within the business. So frontline workers, think of it as, and we just use this example, they are working between 3 different branches of a retail store. Actually, that's not a great example because they wouldn't be assigned one location. Let me backtrack on that. If they're assigned to a location, then they're dynamically assigned to a group as well, right? So in their record, they might be Paul Mall, whatever, then they'll be dropped into that group. This was, like I said, traditionally something that you'd have to pay something additional for, but for frontline worker membership, they're making this available. So it's going to require, well, it is used in conjunction with the Deploy Teams at Scale tool. So there is, some pathway you've got to take to leverage this and not have to pay the additional licensing fee. But it is also specific to frontline workers. So you won't be able to apply this necessarily to everyone across your organization. It will likely be they have to be assigned a frontline worker license. But certainly makes the job easier, Daniel, for when someone is joining the organization, they get onboarded, they get assigned a location, then they get added to the appropriate groups based on dynamic membership rules.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is specific for teams, right? And I think
it's little t.
Yeah. It is little t team. Well,
that's the team's admin center.
Yeah, but it's, I think, what is different between this and regular dynamic groups is it's dynamic, but also you can also manage users. So it's not you're setting up a team that is only dynamically controlled for the membership. Team owners can also manage who's in the team as well.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, so it's a little interesting functionality, I think, for this specific role. But it really plays into what you're talking about, whether you wanted to or not. Is that if I'm working at a store and I transfer to another store, then having me gain access to the team there easily just by changing my attribute of what store I work at, then now I have that team and I don't have the other team. I don't need the other team because I'm not there and I don't need to communicate with them about what's going on in the store. So I think this is interesting. Like I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool that they're bringing this functionality in a situation that I think would happen a lot, right? You need to centrally control because people are going to be switching. When I worked in retail, I switched, right? I was working at one store, and then for a couple months I was working at another store because they needed help. Well, that happens all the time, right? And so being able to switch people, I think, but having it centrally managed and easy and it just does it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it actually brings back memories from a previous project, and so this is functionality that solves that really. That it used to be that you either were a dynamic group or not, and if you wanted to find your way around that, you had to have this exception group and manage that, and that got messy. But this is going to be available in targeted release, rolling out early October, complete mid-October, and general availability. Say it for me, Daniel. Worldwide. Will be mid-October and complete by mid-November. Daniel, I want us to finish on a feature that I didn't even know was there, and now that I look at it, I'm like, hey, that's cool, but I am suspicious about why it's been removed.
Well, I think you not knowing it there proves a point that I often make, which is users don't read. Microsoft PowerPoint QuickStarter feature retires starting October 2024. MC 884762. QuickStarter is a feature that when you open up PowerPoint and go into, or even just click on new in PowerPoint, one of the items that shows, in the template section is this thing called QuickStarter. And when you click on QuickStarter, it brings up start searching for what you want to create. And when you do that, then PowerPoint uses the web and goes out and says, okay, what are some topics that has to do with this? Okay, here are the things we found. Select what you want to include. And then it kind of gives you a quick start at creating your PowerPoint presentation and gives you slides for each kind of those topics that you selected. Well, Microsoft's getting rid of it. They're killing it starting October 8th, 2024 and ending December 31st. So I'm assuming that's kind of a rolling through the update channels. They're going to be removing this from Office, Microsoft Office version 2409 for Windows, and then the Office version 2410 for Mac. I know you have your suspicions on why they're killing this, and I'll give you a moment to say that in a second. But this is a feature I haven't used very often, but I have used it in the past to kind of get an idea of what maybe I should include. Catch like the blind sides, blind spots is what I meant. of, hey, I've thought about this thing and I'm going to create a presentation. Maybe I should include other stuff. Let me see. The one point I want to mention, and I'll ask Daryl to make some comments, but one thing I'll point out here is that it's kind of funny that I'm seeing this and that Daryl is seeing it because in the how this affects your organization, it says you are receiving this message because our reporting indicates your organization may be using this feature. Where Daryl just said, hey, he's not using this feature. Didn't even know it was there. And he's seeing it. I used it, probably the last time I used it was, I mean, just to be honest, it was probably 3 years ago. Maybe,
you said when they
2 years
launched
ago?
it.
What's that?
You said when they launched it.
Yeah, I mean, when they launched it, I kind of used it, and I think I may have used it since. But what I'm saying is it's been a really long time. I don't know how long it was. I don't even remember. So I don't know how they get their telemetry. Maybe just because you open up PowerPoint and that little icon shows.
Yeah.
So therefore,
yeah, that's it.
And if so, every time Microsoft says from now on, our telemetry indicates no one uses this feature, so we're killing it. Just remember this message. Daryl.
Yeah.
Why do you think what is a possibility of the reason why they would be getting rid of this?
Well, as you described this feature, it sounds an awful lot like a Copilot feature in Copilot. Hang on. Let me get this right. Copilot for Microsoft PowerPoint. Yeah. If there's any other PowerPoint.
Right.
So that being that you can create a presentation based on a prompt, and that's what it feels like this could have done. Like, it goes out, finds information. I don't know how and what it used to choose its sources, but it did actually provide those references if you look into that feature, and got you off to a good start for a presentation. So whatever was needed to make that work is now it's only going to be available in the paid Copilot feature. Yeah.
And I will say, if I remember correctly, it gave you notes.
Yeah.
In the speaker notes, this QuickStarter did.
Mm-hmm.
Let me click. There's a link.
Yep.
The QuickStarter feature. Let me click this.
Title slide,
in the
table
message.
of contents.
Oh,
Works
yeah, right there.
cited.
A slide, yes. And it says, with additional suggested talking points in the notes, which is helpful,
Yeah.
and a concluding slide that shows all your works cited so that you can say, here's your resources people could use to go learn more. Now, you got a lot of editing to do there and figuring that out, but, I mean, Copilot doesn't do that.
Well, no, it does. It provides the speaker's notes, but I think my point is that, so you said that you tried this out maybe 3 years ago and it was launched earlier than that. This was well before Copilot. So
yeah, absolutely.
Is this just a rebadged thing that isn't really Copilot powered, or is it improved?
No, I think this use, I always assumed this use being search and was just returning it. So whether Copilot killed the QuickStarter, I don't know, but seems
you can make a song out of that one.
Yeah, right. We can ask Copilot to do that. So we already talked about the timings, October 8th through December 31st. Version numbers is what's really the important part here. Say goodbye to QuickStarter. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. That is the show. We really do appreciate you. I hope you hear that every time. We say it every time, but I hope you actually hear it. We really do appreciate you and appreciate your sharing the show out. I talked with a gentleman. He came out to me at the event this last week and said, thank you for what you and Daryl do. I share your show with my coworkers all the time about the information you cover, and you do a great job. I'm not making that up. Like those words, that's what he said. And I'm like, oh, thank you, because that's the payment we get. That's it. So That's amazing. Really, really do enjoy hearing that from you and from everyone that listens. Thank you so much. Sorry I didn't catch your name, person who told me that at,
Gentleman.
in Twin Cities. Maybe leave a comment on the video and say, hey, that was me.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, everyone. We genuinely really do this show for you and greatly appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you also for tuning in and listening via the podcast too, if that's the way that you prefer to consume the content. Listen in. If you like me, I listen to podcasts when I mow the lawns or when I'm traveling places. Or washing the dishes, whatever. I don't have to watch anything. And maybe that's a good a compliment to how we describe things, Daniel, as we're working through stuff. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep. But anyway, we'll see you again next week, everyone. And yeah, we will aim to have our live message sorting session. So we'll try and publish that earlier. Keep an eye out for that. If you subscribe, you'll get to know about it.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.